And we have we were going to have Elizabeth speak, but we have someone else speak on the Family Home Protection and Fairness Property Tax Act. And instead of having people introduce each themselves as we usually do, I don't think we need to do that today. But Elizabeth Hansel is going to be speaking for the act. And Elizabeth?
Yes, I'm actually going to take it over for Elizabeth, and she'll be here to answer any questions or add anything that I've missed. Am I able to share my screen? I have a presentation.
Yes, you should be able.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you know how to do it?
I do. Let's see if it works.
Well, that's what if she hopes so.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice screen.
All right. Okay, so like I said, I'm here with the Home Coalition, and we are talking about the Family Home Protection and Fairness and Property Tax Act. We will be getting our prop number fairly soon, so it won't be such a long name to remember. But we look forward to talking about this with you guys, and I'll start us off. So the initiative is sponsored by the California Association of Realtors, and it has a housing reform, and then also closes 2 loopholes that will generate a lot of funding for local governments and schools. So first, it creates housing relief and affordability for seniors, people with severe disabilities, and victims of natural disaster, because it removes tax portability restrictions and allows the homeowners to take their current property tax base and transfer it to a replacement home anywhere in California. And that is expanding on Prop 60, which allows seniors to do this one time within a county. And this is just expanding it to all 58 counties, as well as allowing it 3 times. And it expands it to people with severe disabilities, as well as victims of natural disasters and wildfires. So that's the first housing reform. And then secondly, the initiative closes 2 problematic loopholes, one being the inheritance loophole. It closes the loophole that wealthy out-of-state investors and a lot of times non-California residents will use on vacation houses and investment properties to take the property tax base that their parents had when they're inheriting a home. And then instead of living in that home like it was intended, they will be renting it out for, a lot more money and depriving our schools and communities of that tax revenue. So the second loophole is that it closes the legal entity ownership loophole, which is triggering business properties when they are being reassessed. And it's a reform backed by businesses and the League of Cities and also Howard Jarvis. And these loopholes together will generate hundreds of millions of dollars in new revenue for local schools and governments, which will obviously help balance budgets and close those gaps that have been brought on by COVID and also other issues that have come up this year.
Hey, Caroline,
Yep.
This is Liz. One thing to add there on the legal entity ownership, this is not split roll, and our measure is completely different. This does not reassess business properties immediately. This is what triggers a reassessment in the future. So there's a loophole called the Michael Dell initiative, where a legal entity, if they never own more than 50% of the property, they can transfer the property to another legal entity or, another corporation 25% at a time without triggering a reassessment. So this just says if the property is sold to a new property owner, the property gets reassessed at that time. But it's not split roll and it's not retroactive on that point. So that's a little confusing given that split roll's on the ballot. But what we're seeing is many business groups like the League of California Cities and the California Hispanic Chamber, California Asian Chamber, California Black Chamber. They're opposing split roll and they're supporting this measure. So they kind of work hand in hand because we clean up and fix some of the loopholes in Prop 13, but don't do away with it completely.
Yes, thank you for clearing that up. And lastly, just how great this is for the housing crisis, and it's a positive step in addressing affordability, and will create opportunities for homeownership with the tax portability provision, because it encourages people to move out of a home and transfer their property tax base, and then that opens up homes for others and young families or people that are first-time home buyers to buy those homes. So this will generate funding for all municipalities. The legal entity ownership change that Liz was just referring to will actually generate $269 million in annual revenue, and that's from the BOE. Because some people, they improperly shield or avoid paying the true tax assessment and the true fair share of property taxes. So they gain an unfair advantage over businesses and property owners. So this is closing that loophole. And then also it's closing the loophole, the inheritance loophole that's used by out-of-state investments. And this alone will also gain hundreds of millions for local government and schools. The initiative will create housing relief for Californians. It'll improve housing affordability for seniors and families and communities. Because of the housing reform, it allows homeowners who are 55 and older, people with severe disabilities, or victims of wildfires and natural disaster to transfer their property tax base. And like I said earlier, this will open housing inventory for renters and other Californians throughout the state. Meanwhile, this is keeping homes affordable and protecting the right of the family to pass down the homes to their children. And that is an intention that we hope to keep. That is under attack in the legislature and in the media. There have been a couple articles talking about how problematic this is. And this initiative actually does a great job of keeping that intention where the homeowners are allowed to pass down their homes to their children. However, the loophole that's so problematic is being closed here. So it creates a win-win situation. And then here's a quote from Tony Atkins. And then we can also talk about our campaign so far. We have done some polling before COVID hit and also in April after COVID, and we still had a positive reaction from voters. 7 in 10 voters support once they hear about the initiative. And after hearing positive and negative messages, polling shows 66% yes to the 19% no. And here are some of our endorsements, and this list is growing daily. It's almost hard to keep it updated because we're just hearing from a lot of great folks that are signing on to our initiative. Two ones that I'll highlight, we got recently, BizFed and also the League of Cities have endorsed our measure. And we have other chambers, Elk Grove Chamber of Commerce, and we're working with a lot of other local chambers like yourself that are coming up, and we're presenting at their board meetings to try to get their endorsements as well. And we see, just like Liz said, we see the business community coming on in support of this initiative. And we also have some statewide chambers as well.
Hi, good morning. I'm Caroline. Sorry. This is Rovi Antonio. I'm not sure if it's just my screen, but the only slide I'm really seeing right now is your intro slide. I haven't been able to see the rest of the PowerPoint, so I'm not sure if anybody else is having that issue, but just want to let you know.
Is anyone else having that issue?
You might need to refresh your screen.
Thanks, Richard. I'll do that.
Sorry about that. And I'm happy, I can send this to you as well if you would like to look it over separately. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So now I can take any questions, and Liz and I will try to answer them to the best of our ability this morning.
Rovi, do you have any questions? Hello?
Hi, sorry, I'm still trying to fix my screen. No, I just have just a quick comment. Generally, yes, I am supportive of this measure and wanted to confirm that this is the same or the second reiteration of this initiative from 2018, correct? I believe that was Prop 5.
Yes,
Was the
so
original title?
that's correct that the realtor sponsored initiative in 2018, this is almost 85 to 90% different than that initiative. This one has other reforms and closing loopholes that the Prop 5 did not. We did not work on that initiative, so I can't really go into depth about how exactly they're different. I don't know if Liz has any insight into that, but you're correct that they did support an initiative in 2018, and this is very different from that. We believe that this is a lot better, a lot more well-rounded.
Well, yeah, and I can tell you specifically, this initiative, the previous version just had the tax portability piece, which is an excellent piece, but this initiative has the other two reassessment triggers as well. So it's fixing the two different loopholes that Caroline talked about. So therefore, regardless of which county you're in, all local governments and schools will see an increase in funding and revenue. And I can tell you, I've presented to many chambers on many issues, and it is a tricky one here because we're talking about revenue generation, generating revenue, and normally, chambers and small business are opposed to additional tax increases. But what's unique about this, and the reason I think we're seeing the business community come on board, is that this is really fixing some of the outstanding issues that exist that opponents of split roll really point to say we should do away with it all. So this is kind of returning to the original intent and closing some of those loopholes, but preserving the right to transfer property to children and grandchildren.
Okay. Thank you. So I would ask for more questions. What I'd like to do is I'd like to give the members a chance to look at this and the members of the committee. I don't think we have the time to fully go through this because we have a very full agenda today. So, but I thank you very much for the presentation. I was going to ask Richard to ask a couple questions because I know he must have an opinion on this. But I think I'd like to invite you back if we could at maybe the next meeting and give this subject more time.
Sure, absolutely.
Does anyone disagree with that? Okay, Amo, are you there?
Hi there.
Turn on your speaker. Okay. Well, Amo is a current city council member, and she is running for city council at the same time. And she's going to give us a presentation. And she also has two questions that we will be asking both candidates who will be on today. And after she's done, I'll repeat the questions and we'll then open up to some additional questions as time allows. Amo, you want to take it?
Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Well, I can.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for the chance to share a little bit about myself and my background, my path to council. I have been in San Mateo for 11 years. My husband and I moved here when we were pregnant with our first. That's a picture of me with my baby bump at Laurelwood Park. And then this year with my two kids. My kids can proudly hike Laurelwood with their eyes closed. They're both born and raised San Mateans and attend the public schools. And my community service record really started the minute that my kids were born. I joined the San Mateo Moms Club. I immediately got involved in the PTA as a board member and I've been a member ever since. I was the president and I'm still a board member of our home association of North Central San Mateo. I was then graduated to the Parks and Rec Commission, was then appointed to the General Plan Subcommittee, and then the council. My career spans 15 years. I'm a two-time nonprofit executive director. I have co-founded a startup, which was sold to care.com, and also have served in the public sector. The core of my experience and my professional expertise is really about how to build healthy and strong communities. I hold a master's degree from Columbia University, and my focus was in human rights and public health. And I think there are a couple of things that really make my experience base very unique. I have been in a direct service role, so I have done bedside care to in the hospice care setting. I have been a bilingual case manager to people living with HIV and AIDS. And I also am able to do 20,000-foot, high-level, long-term strategic planning and policy. So I currently serve on the San Mateo County Long-Term Strategic Plan Recovery Plan Task Force. And when I worked at UNICEF, what my job was is really to seed ideas through pilot programs to further HIV prevention education in partnership with government entities. I also have vastly different experiences on an organizational development level. So I have managed and directed tiny nonprofit organizations with budgets less than $500,000. And today I am overseeing the fiscal policy for our 600 employee municipal organization with a budget of over $262 million. I always say that I am working every day for every San Matean. And since I joined the council, I really haven't wasted a single moment. I see this as, one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, to put my whole self and all of my skills into the betterment of our community and our chosen forever home. And that's really focused on protecting public health and our economic vibrancy and safety, investing in affordable housing, which is a really key issue for me, and sustainable transit and infrastructure, and dedication to a process, a governance and process that involves listening and co-creating a future that respects our history, our diversity, and our neighborhoods. I was asked to speak on my position on Measure P, and I think it's really important just to get it out of the way. It is a matter of public record, and I encourage everyone to read my full statement, which is on my blog, amourence.com/blog. I don't think this deserves a ton of time because it is a matter of record. The crux of my reason for opposing Measure P is I believe that it works against what most San Mateans want. And while the policy might have made sense 30 years ago, the task at hand is really to come up with a new vision and a new plan that will meet the needs of today. We have a completely different set of demographics and transportation needs, and today San Mateo is a major job center. So I plan to work very hard on the anti-P campaign, and am taking every opportunity to make my position known. The second area that I was asked to talk about is the question of what is the role of local government, what is the role of the city of San Mateo in supporting economic and community vitality. My answer to that is my job is to think about and advance initiatives and structures, policies and organizational structures that will catalyze economic vitality and equity. And what that looks like to me is really being as accountable and responsive to community needs as possible. And I'm not asking anyone to take my word for it. I think that my record speaks for itself, my voting record, and the work that the council has done and our staff has done just since the emergency was declared in March. And so a couple of key highlights of that that I think really demonstrate what it means to be a catalyst as a government entity is the investment that we made, $400,000 investment to the San Mateo County Strong Fund, which will net 10,000 grants to small businesses. We are in an affordability crisis and a housing deficit, and we know that so many people were already struggling to keep a roof over their head. And so when you think about, what is the equity piece, what is the social equity piece, providing support to our neighbors in the form of rental assistance, which involved directing $440,000 of our community block grant to Samaritan House, which is our core agency and nonprofit that serves our San Mateans most in need. I'm really proud to say that one of the initiatives that I really spearheaded was the focus on childcare. I really see childcare, and I'm looking at you, Roby, with the kids in the background. Childcare is the third leg of the stool. If we don't have childcare, we don't have a fully functioning workforce. And so I'm really happy to say that, almost 30% of that designation and that allocation to Samaritan House was earmarked for childcare providers to help those businesses stay in business and those providers keep a roof over their head. There are so many other areas, just sort of a catch-all here. One of the things that was really unique to San Mateo is that immediately after the declaration was called, we directed the staff who were unable to perform their typical job functions because of shelter in place, and immediately formed a business outreach task force. That was a really great use of personnel resources and human resources. And what that involved was, from an equity standpoint, we had a Spanish speaker, we had a Chinese speaker, and I would call out to Jennifer Chen there. What they did is they got on the phone and they walked around the business district, and they provided opportunities for businesses to give direct feedback through surveys, so we could collect data on the COVID-19 economic impacts, and also support businesses to navigate changing regulations, which are still changing, and also connect them to the relief programs that they were eligible for. The volume of information and the need to get support to navigate these all of this information, all these lifelines, that was imperative, and I think it really did make a difference. The other thing that San Mateo has done is really transformed our streetscapes and re-envisioned our streetscapes and the way that we can support our businesses, and specifically looking at our restaurant businesses, which have taken a 70% hit. 70%. And so, even in the reopening phase, many of our restaurants will have diminished in restaurant dining capacity. And so the ability to expand their seating capacity and their table capacity into the streets is not only a benefit to the community at large, but also to those businesses whose business model and their cost recovery, their operational factors have done a 180. And so we're really trying to figure out ways to use land resources in more innovative ways. San Mateo was also really forward thinking in terms of the flexibility that we provided, waiving late fees for business licensing taxes. We showed great flexibility in parking enforcement policies downtown in commercial areas. And we also increased police patrolling during the time where many businesses were shuttered and unable to operate. And what that did is it provided security to business owners who have incredible amounts of their personal investments in their businesses, in their storefronts, and ensuring that that those their storefronts would be secure. Economic recovery is going to be very complex, and I will continue my service on the San Mateo COVID-19 long-term Strategic Planning Task Force, it's a mouthful, and also the City Council COVID-19 Policy Subcommittee. It really, to me, it's about balancing two things: our quality of life and helping to create and sustain a healthy economy that will enable our businesses to recover and thrive. I cannot overstate the severity of this economic crisis. We just got numbers back that that in San Mateo County, the unemployment rate has spiked to 11%, and that is 5 times what it was in February. And the effects that this will have on our own city budget will lag. And so we have shifted to a 1-year budget cycle and are doing quarterly reviews. And we are being very proactive in our own management of the budget. In terms of the overarching strategies, I really see our recovery plan falling to several different buckets. The first is advocacy to bring federal, state, and county funding back to the city in the form of direct allocations that we'll have more control over. We've taken on losses and expenses that we are hoping that we can be made whole with some of those direct allocations. The second area is collaborative solutions. Thanks to SAMCETA and the Chamber, we recently hosted a great event in partnership with new Taipei city government to look at best practices there. And I think that on a global and a regional front, there are many opportunities for lessons learned and learning exchange that can happen through collaborative partnerships and city-to-city relationships. The other area of collaboration, which I think is really interesting, is looking at the school district. Now, the school district is very likely going to be switching to an A-B schedule. That will mean that it's possible 50% of our students will not be doing in-school learning. That will create a huge challenge in terms of scheduling for working parents. But the opportunity there is to connect and knit together a scheduling and business model that will support our activity-based businesses, our Kung Fu schools, our camps, and all of those other small businesses to help partner with school districts to revitalize those businesses and also meet the needs of working parents. And it's just one example of collaborative solutions. The other area is creating green jobs through green infrastructure investments. And I wish everybody in San Mateo knew that over the next couple of years, we will be making over $1 billion investment in green infrastructure. That will look like 10 miles of sewer pipeline, the UFIS project, the North Shoreview levees, and the wastewater treatment plant, making sure that these projects, which are already funded by and large, continue to move forward is an important lever that we have to help revitalize the economy and create good jobs. I also see
we're going to have to wrap up shortly. So
yes,
this
is my last slide.
Okay, good.
The last or the close to last is staying the course with prudent fiscal policy, which means in the good times and bad, stabilizing jobs and services. One of the things that I really focus on is the opportunity to do zoning and land use policy and streamline development. When I think about managing our growth and thinking about how we plan for growth and where we plan for growth, one of the lenses that I apply is really the fiscalization of land use. And so looking at supporting a diverse economy through the diversity of businesses and industry in our communities, I think is really important. And that's one of the core areas that the council has a lot of control over in partnership with the community. Lastly, tax reform. The city of San Mateo, in our council is strongly considering putting a revenue enhancement measure on the ballot in 2020, which will increase the transit occupancy tax from 12 to 14%. And that will net about $1 million in revenue annually. In addition to that, San Mateo is on the losing side of our online retail revenue formula. And so fixing that to become destination based, I think would be greatly beneficial to San Mateo. I'll just end by saying thank you to everybody, and thank you to all the many community members who helped me get on the council and also are supporting my campaign, including our Assembly Speaker Pro Tem, Kevin Mullen, Lou Cohen, the owner of B Street Books and president of the Downtown Business Association. I have early endorsements from Peninsula for Everyone, Peninsula Young Democrats, the API Caucus, and the San Mateo County Central Labor Council. This is my information. I work for you. I'm here for you. Reach out anytime. That's it.
Thank you very much. We would ask questions, but I don't think we have time today. So now, Lisa, are you there? Pauline, can we let Lisa out of her room?
I'll sign off then?
You don't have
Yes.
to sign off, but you should stop sharing your screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lisa is on.
Hello, Lisa. You have to turn on your voice.
Yep, I'm turning on my voice right now.
Yeah, I just did it
Okay.
for you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. It sounds like it's been a great meeting so far. So I thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. And I wanted to share during these few moments why I'm running for San Mateo City Council, what I want to accomplish on the council, and why I believe I'm qualified for the job. I also am very much here to listen to you, to understand the issues that are important to you as business leaders on the peninsula. And listening would be job number one for me on the council. So it's job number one for me today. City Council's core responsibility is to set a long-term vision and strategy for San Mateo, ensure our city's financial stability and economic vibrancy, and provide the basic services like road repair, emergency services, and open spaces that determine our quality of life. I am running for San Mateo City Council to be the independent and accountable voice of all of our neighborhoods and local businesses to ensure that your priorities inform council's decisions in San Mateo's future. My lifetime of leadership in both the business and nonprofit sectors, as well as my years of community organizing and community service, have prepared me to serve on the council. My professional background, just to share, is in consumer marketing, where I held senior positions in the US and Asia with American Express, Visa, Charles Schwab, E-Trade, and Yahoo, as well as with several startups, like many people in the Valley, my own marketing consultancy business, and 2 global nonprofits in the clean water and sanitation sector. I'm currently the president of the San Mateo Library Board, thus my virtual background here, chair of the Measure S Citizens Oversight Committee, and a director on the Neighborhood Watch Board, the Rotary Haciendas Board for Low-Income Senior Housing, and the Baywood Owners Improvement Association. I believe that listening intently to understand the real needs of people is key to success, whether you're a consumer marketer or a city councilor. My business background also has taught me how to find opportunity in difficulty. And during these unprecedented times that I don't need to tell any of you about, we shouldn't want to go back to normal. We have a unique chance right now to create a new normal with less traffic and pollution, more San Mateo friendly, affordable housing options, and more time for family and community. As a San Mateo City Council member, I would really want to work with other peninsula cities, with businesses and state government officials to encourage more telecommuting, investment in broadband infrastructure, and flexible scheduling to encourage a more virtual work environment we all could benefit from. I, as many of you know, am a believer in transit-oriented development as a good way to reduce our jobs housing imbalance. But to ensure its long-term success, we need to see that any new development is built with the appropriate amount of additional infrastructure to handle the new residents, and that the needs of the surrounding neighborhoods are addressed. We also need to understand how best to partner with our major employers, as you know, many of the engines of our economic growth. Whether it was negotiating with major partners to create contracts to grow Yahoo's user base, or bringing tribal elders in Uganda to work with government health officials to create sustainable clean water access for people in remote areas, I have a lifetime of experience bringing diverse groups together to find common ground and build common success. I want to contribute this experience to forging a more resilient San Mateo with benefits for all of us. While our City Council needs to lead San Mateo to a better future, it also has to ensure that we rebound stronger from the very real economic and community damage that this pandemic has created. We need to work closely with our health experts and county officials to ensure our efforts to reopen are built on a solid foundation of health precautions so we don't wind up suffering a COVID-19 relapse worse than the first disease outbreak. Local government also needs to support the important community work of our amazing nonprofit partners like Samaritan House and Peninsula Family Service. They are our frontline workers with some of our most vulnerable neighbors. In fact, I just finished a Father's Day fun run where my volunteers and I collected over $1,500 of toys and activities that Samaritan House distributed so that dads and their kids could have a fun, relaxing Father's Day together. We also need to test new incentives and innovative approaches to enable small businesses to start to rebuild and help our mom and pop landlords hold on. As an example, my campaign is holding a small business online auction starting tomorrow to encourage people to shop and dine in San Mateo in a socially distant and safe manner while raising funds for my campaign so I can continue to champion the revitalization of San Mateo's small businesses. It will finish up with a live event this Sunday, June 28th from 4 to 5 p.m. And I invite you all to attend, purchase gift cards to some of your favorite San Mateo merchants, and join me in celebrating San Mateo's small businesses. I've asked Pauline to put the RSVP link in the chat, and we'll share the information with Cheryl and Pauline afterwards. Personally, my family has lived in San Mateo County for nearly 30 years and in San Mateo for 7 years. My husband and I moved to San Mateo from Emerald Hills as our 2 grown daughters left the nest. We wanted to get involved in this diverse city that's really been our downtown since we came to California to work for Visa when it was up near the College of San Mateo and the farmers market. In summary, my qualifications and my commitment to keeping residents and local businesses engaged in all council issues are why I believe I can immediately have a positive impact when I join the council. I am excited to do just that. So let me stop here, answer any questions, take any remarks you might have. I'm excited to learn from you. I invite you to find out more at my website, www.lisaforsanmateo.com. That's Lisa, F-O-R, sanmateo.com. And I would be honored to earn your support. Thank you all very much.
Lisa, there were 2 questions that I think you got in advance. What's your position on the Measure P extension, and how would you envision yourself working on the council if it passes and then if it fails?
Thank you, Alan, for that. I understand the neighborhood's concerns for preserving the neighborhood quality of San Mateo, but I believe that Measure P was designed in a time that is very different from today. As I said in my remarks, we have a tremendous jobs housing imbalance, and I believe as part of the general plan, we need to take a very hard, comprehensive look at what do we want San Mateo to be for the next 20 years. And I actually believe that the general plan is where the city council and the community can come together and create a vision that understands what we need in terms of housing, and particularly affordable housing. Where do we want that housing? And how do we support that housing with all the other infrastructure infrastructure that's necessary. As an example, I've spoken with a number of people in Bay Meadows, which is a great example of an integrated community that was designed from the bottom up. Yet there are many residents that are worried about walking their kids across Saratoga Avenue or walking across El Camino, and so they get in their cars. They're worried because of traffic and dangers that they perceive. So as part of my job as City Council, I would want to take a leadership role in the general plan and get a lot more people and community members involved so that we see where do we need to build housing. Obviously near transit is most beneficial, but what else do we need to do to make sure that people who move to transit-oriented development really can get out of their cars? I also see an opportunity, and I hear this from neighbors all the time, that they want to provide a way for their sons and daughters to come back to San Mateo, that it's too expensive for them to live here right now. So I think the movement on accessory dwelling units is a good one, and I'd want to work with council and with the nonprofits who are leading the effort to find ways of educating the community so that they can really work to develop things that make it easier for our seniors to stay in San Mateo and our young people to come back. But I think so much of it has to do with education and getting the community, all the community involved, not just the 20 people like myself who show up at all the meetings and have opinions. So I would want to go to where the community was, not just have them come to where we are.
Okay. Now let me ask you the second question is, and I think you answered some of this. How do you think the city should go about revitalizing business and community in a post-COVID-19 world? What do you feel is the city's role in creating economic vitality?
Thank you. And yes, I did address much of that in my remarks because it's central to my campaign. I believe that our businesses, whether they're small businesses, whether they're mom and pop landlords, whether they're large corporations or health services, they are key to our economic engine. They provide employment, and also we need to work together because this is the community that is San Mateo. So the first thing I always believe, and I think I said this, is that you have to go and understand what the needs of your customers are. And just as I would consider the residents to be my customers if I were on the council, I would consider business to be my customers. And business is a very broad term. There are very many different segments of business. So I am already out talking to local businesses, be they small or mom and pop landlords, large corporations, to see what do they need. And the role of local government is to be able to provide the regulatory environment and the incentives to let the businesses get on and do what they need to do. So I don't believe in restrictions, I believe in incentives. I believe that historically, whether you look at housing or economic development, we're always much more successful by providing incentives. So that might be, look what's going on right now in downtown San Mateo with the restaurants. It's saying, let's create a different environment so we can comply with the regulations that the health officers have given us, but we also give you an opportunity to go out and start to do your business again. Because as a small business owner myself, I know that I am personally responsible day and night for the health and well-being of my business and my customers. So I would see City Council as very proactively trying to find incentives in working with other cities, because we can't do it on our own, in working with the county, in working with the state. And I also think that there are times when City Council needs to stand up and be an advocate for our businesses and our community against things that might be going on in Sacramento that we believe are counter to our businesses. And I would also want to establish a council of businesses that would give me and give the council ongoing feedback. Just going out once upon a time is not enough. There has to be ongoing feedback And I would want to do that in a very formal way and measure our progress. I very much believe in letting you know what my goals are and then inviting you to measure how successful I've been.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're running out of time quickly. Unless I watch, it isn't. My God, have fair time for more questions. Right now, I want to hear from Jennifer and see what she has to say. What's happening at the city, Jennifer? Thank you very much. Go
Thank
on.
you, Alan. So it's been covered by everybody about the downtown dining. I really encourage everyone to go to downtown. There's a lot of restaurants that's extended their dining room out to B Street and 2nd and 3rd. It looks great on the weekends. There's full street closure on B between 2nd and 3rd on that block in particular. And if you wait another week or two, you should see Pacific Catch also having outdoor dining, and a lot of them will be dressing up their dining areas. That's the biggest news that I have. Hillsdale's also open. If you want to go by Hillsdale, their indoor and outdoor dining are open, and they already have socially distanced dining areas both on the patio as well as in the outdoor area. It looks really nice.
Okay, well, let me see. That's all you have, Jennifer?
From the city, that's the biggest thing since last month.
Christina, are you here?
I didn't hear you. I would just want to say before I take off, I want to say thank you very much to all of you for the opportunity, and I look forward to speaking with you all offline. So have a great day.
Thank you. Elmer, what do we have? What's going on?
Good morning, everyone. So I wanted to just touch on a few of the senators' bills. This week, it's going to be all four session. So the bills have to be passed or have until Friday to be passed out of the Senate. That's the 26th. The senator has SB 350 still moving. That's the Golden State Energy Act. And this was re-referred to the Senate rules after being amended in the Assembly. And so it should be passed from there this week and voted on the Senate floor. It had some pretty good support in the Assembly. It was passed 57-17 to 5. And then SB 793, which is a senator's flavored tobacco legislation, that also passed out of the Senate Appropriations Committee late last week and was read for a second time yesterday and should be read today for a third time. And we're expecting that to go to the Senate floor this week as well. SB 926, which was the senator's cashless legislation, saying that retail shops couldn't discriminate against cash payments, was held in Senate Appropriations last Friday, so it won't be moving forward this year. And then I just wanted to touch on some other major housing legislation that's moving through the Senate, specifically SB 899, which is Senator Wiener's bill. And that would prohibit affordable housing on land owned by religious organizations, nonprofit colleges, and nonprofit hospitals, regardless of the local zoning restrictions. So that's going to be heard for the third time today. So that's the final step in the legislative process before being heard on the Senate floor for those who might not be familiar. And then SB 902, which is another one of Senator Wiener's bills that would provide local government with a streamlined path to zone more homes up to 10 units per parcel. And that was a bill that was approved on the Senate floor yesterday by a margin of 33 votes in favor and 3 votes against. And just to quickly touch on the last few, SB 995, which is Senator Tony Atkins' bill. This bill would expand the application of streamlining the CEQA process to smaller housing projects that could include at least 15% affordable housing. So this bill is intended to extend a program that's generated more than 10,000 housing units and created nearly 47,000 jobs since 2011. And so that bill is scheduled to be read for a third time this afternoon. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about SB 1120, which is another one of Senator Atkins' bills. And this legislation would encourage small-scale neighborhood development by streamlining the process for a homeowner to create a duplex or subdivide an existing lot and in a residential area. Such applications would be required to meet a list of qualifications to, protect the local zoning, design standards, historic districts, environmental quality, and existing tenants who might be vulnerable to displacement. So those are sort of the major housing legislation proposals that are moving right now. And after this Friday, the Senate will join the Assembly in recess. So they will be returning July 13th. And that's everything I had. Thank you again.
God, it sounds busy.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have someone here from Kevin Mullen's office?
I do not.
Okay. Oh, we don't. Okay. I think what we ought to do is we don't have anyone here from the county. Okay, I guess we have to make sure and call them and let them know to join us for our next meeting. Can we,
I'll do that, Alan.
Pauline, do you want to tell us what's going on with the chamber?
Sure. Thank you, Alan. The Chamber has a fundraiser July 4th. So we're celebrating the businesses reopening with a video parade. And we're also doing an online auction associated with that. Donations are due by this Friday, and we'll put them up, and the auction week will be the week after July 4th. This week itself is a very busy week. We have 3 business essentials scheduled. They're all at 10 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. 2 of our board members are actually speaking. So today, 5 myths about estate planning by Angel Riley. Tomorrow, we have a guest speaker, Richard Price, about get a grip on your business in this crisis. Are you running your business, or is it running you? And on Thursday, we're visiting the world of Google, tips and tricks on how to use Google by one of our board members, Mark Allen. And on Friday, we have a town hall meeting about the latest updates regarding PPP loan application, the forgiveness application. And that's being hosted by the Chamber. Our speaker is Enrico Hernandez from De La Torre and Associates Insurance Services. So a very busy week. Thank you so much.
That's great. Thank you very much. Rovi, do you have anything to say?
Nothing new. I will send an updated coalition list for the Prop 10 2.0 that we just updated since we gained more endorsements to oppose the measure. I'll send that to the committee shortly.
Okay, thank you. And what do you have for us, Matt? Anything?
No, just I'll reach out to Supervisor Groom's office to get her staff here next time.
Okay. Hey, Matt, would you like to sit a puppy? You seem to do a very good job.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just
okay. A puppy would be great for those kids. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, I may take you up on that.
There you go. We're gonna have to talk about that. We have a puppy who's 5.5 weeks or 5.5 months old and 55 pounds.
Alan, hold your get a picture of that puppy on your cell phone and hold it up to the camera. We all want to see it.
Okay.
Well, I think it should be your background screen.
Are you kidding? I have so many pictures of the puppy. He is, let's see. Here he is. Here's Tucker.
No, you're pixelating out.
Okay. It's
you'll have to remove your virtual background if you want to do that.
Okay. Well, next time I will put him instead of me up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for asking, Richard. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate the attendance. The information is great. We have a lot of talent running for our offices, which is very good. And hopefully everyone's going to vote. So we will get together again next month.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.